Yeah. Okay. So we'll start.
Yes.
I hope you're doing good. I am Richa from ILS Law College, Pune, and I'm a fifth year final year law student. And I will be one of the persons who will be assisting in this interview.
I'm
So yeah.
Cynthia Soni, and I'm from UILS Punjab University, Chandigarh, and I am currently pursuing third year of my 5-year BLLB degree.
And I'm Sébastien Lafrance. I'm a prosecutor at the Public Prosecution Service of Canada. I'm an international lecturer and etc. A former professor of law, part-time professor of law, and clerk at the Supreme Court of Canada and the Quebec Court of Appeal as well, and author of several book chapters and articles, etc., etc.
Okay. So it is with great pleasure and honor we are introducing our interview series on YouTube and marking the first with the best with Sebastien, sir. And hello, sir. Hope you're doing good. So we'll begin the interview here, if that's okay.
Yes, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. And just very briefly before we start, I just would like to do a little disclaimer. So everything that I will say is not binding on my work as a public prosecutor. It's only on my personal behalf. But it's a pleasure to be here this morning or this evening with you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure from our side as well. We're really happy to have you.
So am I. So am I.
We were a little nervous to be in front of you, but I think this is pretty comfortable now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have partially introduced yourself. You've told our viewers a lot of things about you already, but would you like to give a brief, small introduction of yourself again?
Yeah. I don't want to sound well. Maybe one preamble, very short, before I present myself, introduce myself. It doesn't matter what you do. What matters is what you like to do, and if you're lucky enough to do it. So just to this little preamble, I'll comment that later this morning or this evening for you, but that's important to say. Yeah, so as I said, I'm a prosecutor for the Public Prosecution Service of Canada, so a Crown Counsel, said otherwise. I'm an international lecturer. I've lectured in 19 countries so far. I speak several languages, many of them fluently. This is a personal passion of mine. I used to be a part-time professor of law, teaching in various fields, international law, etc., criminal, not criminal, but consumer law, evidence, constitutional somehow to a certain extent, and so on. So, and labor law, of course, that I taught several times. I published a lot too. I like publishing, I like writing, and I basically, all of which to say I'm very active. That's the gist of it, basically.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
So you've mentioned in your introduction that you're Crown Counsel at Public Prosecution Service of Canada, and I'm sure that made our viewers a little curious to know what exactly it is. So would you like to tell our viewers what exactly is Crown Counsel and what are the duties and responsibilities associated with it?
Yeah, for sure. Being a Crown Counsel for I would say I don't know for there are two different types of jurisdictions in Canada when it comes to being Crown Counsel. So they're similar to India, actually, not exactly the same, but similar. So there's the federal prosecution service and the provincial prosecution service. But when I was prosecuting in the Canadian Arctic, where it's very cold in the real Canadian Arctic, basically Crown Counsel prosecute all criminal offenses. So in Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and the Yukon. So these are the three territories in the northern part of Canada. Now, as a prosecutor in the more southern part of Canada, or in the warmer part of Canada in Toronto. So anywhere else in the country is then the three territories of this country. So you prosecute only criminal offenses that are of federal jurisdictions, namely drugs or any regulatory offenses that are of federal jurisdiction. For example, what I'm doing right now is mostly competition law, criminal law offenses. But so that's very theoretical. Practically speaking, what it means, more interestingly too, because the theory part is okay. Does it explain what it does? Well, not really. So let me tell you what we really do. So not that what I said is not true, but let's move on to the practice a bit. And the challenge, some very challenges, very briefly said. As a prosecutor or Crown Counsel, you're not only prosecuting criminal charges, you're also an officer of justice. And this role is taken very seriously, not only by all of us, but also by obviously by our management, not for the bad reasons, but I truly believe for the good reason. There's a famous decision that one of my colleagues, dear colleagues, an experienced colleague, like to mention very often. It's the decision of 1954, still applicable nowadays and still cited nowadays from the decision of the Supreme Court in the Queen versus Boucher, Boucher. So famous decision in Canada, at least for the criminal law field. So basically, it discusses, among other things, about the role of Crown Counsel in prosecution, and it basically makes clear that the role is really to be there also for justice. We're not there to gain a conviction, or we don't win, we don't lose. So said in plain English, we are there to show the evidence the best we can. Of course, we have a role to make sure that the case is prosecutable. So there's a test that we apply constantly in all of our cases. So there must for a case to go in court, when we analyze the case, there must be a reasonable prospect of conviction that we also call by its acronym RPC. So that's very important. This is a key word. Also the public interest, because there are public interest to prosecute. And I have several examples of this. I'm not going to delve into the details of this, but the two steps, like, is there a reasonable prospect of conviction? Because it's no use to bring a case to court and then show no evidence or very weak evidence or too weak evidence to the court and the jurors, or if this is a jury trial. And also, is it in the public interest? For example, I make up an example out of my mind right now, but if a 4-year-old boy steals a candy of a value of 2 cents or 1 rupee, I'm sorry, at the grocery store, and well, there's a special regime, of course. He's a minor, so the parent, anyway, is it really worth to bring, because criminally speaking, it is a theft. So that fits. If there's evidence, we see this young child stealing, there's evidence, there's a good case. We have a good case against a 4-year-old kid who stole a no worth candy at a grocery store. Is it worth it to bring this case to court, to potentially call a panel of jurors to decide the very important issue of having a child stealing a no value candy? Well, I don't want to say no necessarily, but probably more than likely the answer will be no, even though it fits in the criminal offense. So that you see, this is an example so we have to be alerted to this. And also, we're not there our personal opinion shouldn't matter in our cases. If we think the accused, personally speaking, not from the analysis of the case, oh, that's a bad guy, he should be prosecuted. Well, that's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. The person can be good, bad, can be whoever, can go to the church or be very faithful, religious, or not, and that doesn't matter. It's all personal stuff, unless, of course, it's relevant to the evidence of the case. So these are things that there are other things that we should make sure to not. There are traps we should make sure to not fall into. So basically the threshold is very high. because the judges expect you to meet that threshold at all times, defense counsel too, and if you don't, they will certainly tell you. There may be a case against the prosecution because Crown showed bias, etc. So that kind of thing. Not in all cases, it does not happen often, but this is something that Crown has to be, Crown Counsel, I say Crown, but I mean, of course, I'm not Her Majesty Elizabeth II, but Crown Counsel have to be aware about at all times. That's what I would say very summarily.
Right. Thank you for telling us so much. Uh, Moving on to our second question, it's kind of a part of the first one only. But so you told us that you're a polyglot. You speak, you know 25 languages and you speak 18 of them fluently. Wow. So we would love to hear about your current and future plans for the languages that you're learning right now. And we're interested in knowing what's the inspiration behind this practice. What
Uh,
makes you learn so many languages?
uh, to make a long story short, because it can be this specific topic, I can speak even more than talk about the law because it's a personal passion, and it so I'll do my best to be short as I can, but that really fascinates me. Where it comes from, it's as a child. I was given as a gift, coming from a poor family. I couldn't travel at all. I couldn't even, we never even really went outside of Montreal, which is my hometown. Like it was very. So there was no way I could, and I wanted to discover it. I was very curious. So I always was very curious. So I wanted to know more, even as a child. But basically, budget wise, we were constrained to my street and the neighborhood. So how do you travel? Well, with your mind, with your soul. So and I basically asked for a world atlas for Christmas when I was a child. My grandfather saved money. He bought it to me, and I basically flipped through the book and basically memorized the entire atlas as a child. And you could ask me any page, and I knew exactly what it was saying. So really, and then of course, I was confronted with the fact, and that's a not strange, but funny story. I was confronted when I was 8 years old to foreign languages. So basically, I was open to other countries, but I didn't realize that these other countries spoke other languages than mine, which is French, my mother tongue. So I was walking as a child and close to where we were living at the time, and somebody stopped me on the street. That was a tourist, only spoke English, which I didn't speak a word of at the time, and she was asking me for the time. Like she had to show me the watch, and I couldn't say anything. So I basically helped her, and somehow, but it took so long, and I was trying so hard to help that she got annoyed. It was just, as a child, sometimes you get overly excited, and that annoys adults. So I really wanted to help, like, so much, and then I realized I really felt the barrier, the language barrier in front of me, like almost physically. It was very palpable. So basically, the lack of communication, or the lack of means of communication here, the language, prevented a message to come through and to go through. And also, I was passionate about, for I don't know why, but about the map of Russia that I had in my atlas. So when you put all these things together and many other things, other stories, at the time there were more and more immigrants, but not so many in my school. But so all these things put together, I decided to learn Russian and then German and etc., in which I became fluent, and I just kept going. Uh, and what is very important to say about this thing is it's absolutely not a matter of piling up and breaking records and having, because first of all, there are other people who speak as many languages, and it's fine. I don't care, actually. It's not the point. The point is not, oh, am I fantastic or not? It's not that the point at all. The point is, can I communicate in someone's language that he or she cannot understand? Like when I speak my mother tongue, is the person going to understand me? No. Okay, what's the language spoken? Is there a way to communicate in a third language that maybe is not the mother tongue of any of us, but at least that a language that one will understand? So the underlying idea is peace, is because when you, and I really like, and I say it often, but I really like this quote from Nelson Mandela. Like, I paraphrase him here, but when he said that when you speak to someone in a second language that is not his or her mother tongue, you basically speak to his or her brain. But when you speak in the mother tongue of the person, you speak to their soul. And that's so true. It is so true. Because I experienced it so many times. I have one occasion when, one quick example, when I went to Indonesia, it was the last time, and the taxi driver didn't speak much English, and it was very rude at the very beginning. But then I had learned at the time some Indonesian that I keep learning now, but enough to have a discussion. Of course, I made a few mistakes, maybe more than a few, but I was able to speak enough comfortably to have a conversation with them. Oh my God, that person became a different person. When I was the white guy from Canada, who he thought had money, because there was this prejudice that all Canadians are rich and wealthy and etc. So, and I was going to Indonesia, like he had all these things in the back of his mind. So basically for him, it was just like, oh, some kind of garbage, let's be honest. But when I switched to his tongue, well, the quote of Nelson Mandela totally makes sense. I spoke to his soul, and he smiled. He became hyper communicative. He was super nice. Darn, it actually was difficult to get rid of him at the end, not because he was looking for a tip, just because he was so happy. Uh, uh, so and that's beautiful, and that's only beautiful to see from outside. But who doesn't want to feel, that's cheesy to say, it may be swell, of course, but what are talking about, but you feel it when you feel the warmth coming from a human being, the affection, just because you made the effort to speak in their language. It changes everything. So that's very selfish somehow, but not selfish to brag or show off, but it's selfish because everybody wants to feel warmth and love and affection, right? But also everybody wants to be understood. Everybody wants to speak and speak their mind, speak clearly, express ideas, discuss, share, and everything like that. So it's like and the more languages you master, or at least you know some basics more than just asking for something at a restaurant, but you can really communicate. And then, wow, it is discovering the world. You feel really like somehow not exactly the same. There are no dangers like traveling over the sea, but like crossing the ocean, there's no such things as. But you really do feel as almost like a Christopher Columbus of the mind, and that's so thrilling. And the project said, so I'm not piling up numbers, right? So it's not, but the one and I had to stop for a few weeks, but the one I'm still looking for courses in Toronto. It's very difficult because we have a lot of Hindi speakers, but not so many, actually no classes of Hindi, which I found very strange and sad for people who would like to learn it, because there are many courses of many languages, but Hindi, there is not, or there was a program. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's practical, but the next language, not the next because I'm in it right now, but I'm not really comfortable so much. It's Hindi. But Hindi for real, not the objective, which I will, and that's important to say, not if I do or if, because when you say, and I'm telling you, when you start a project saying, oh, if I succeed, no, when you will succeed, to keep it positive, and I'm quite confident about this. I really want to be able to write and to speak it. So I give myself maybe a deadline of 2-3 years to master it. Some more than just basics, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 words, something like that. So you have to put and to give yourself objectives. So that's the next one. And I said I was going to be short, and I wasn't. I'm sorry. It's just
absolutely okay. But I think you literally proved the Nelson Mandela quote. When you said that your next language is going to be Hindi, we felt like, wow, that's really touchy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you. I think I'll hand over the mic to Achintya. She has the next question.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, sir, before joining law school, you pursued political science from the University of Montreal. Am I right? Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So, did the education in political science influence your decision to pursue law? And, like, to what extent was political science helpful to you to influence your decision to take up law?
The answer is yes and no. Yeah, no, because there are many people who oftentimes study political science to as a bypass to be eventually accepted in the law school program. It wasn't my case. I ended up studying law by mistake. So I did study political science to its fullest because I really wanted to. I was always interested, obviously, from, as you may guess, because of what I said about my interest in the world and other countries. So that was more for from an international relations perspective. So I was really interested in this. Of course, ideas too, because I like to break prejudices and to ponder over things and think more than what's given to you in a plate. So be fed with plenty of ideas. So I got that. But no, not really. But yes, because it's connected, because these fields are connected. So if I would have studied as an engineer, and then, not saying it's not, there are many actually very excellent engineers who become lawyers, but let's say political science and law are more related, but surprisingly it doesn't have any connection. But what it helps me for, and then I would say yes, is when it's time to have a critical look at the law. That helped because obviously I approached laws first from a political science perspective. So I was more critical without even knowing I would become a lawyer. So when it comes to the study of laws, it helped. And at the very beginning, sometimes I don't use this knowledge very often, but it clearly opened my mind, because oftentimes what happened is students in law arrive in the law school program, and basically everything that is said in the codes, criminal code or whatever else, or the case law, and it's fine, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do at the end. But they take it for granted. What is described as this, it's this, and there's no way around, no way out to think about it, to challenge it, to make it better, or to this critical way that I got from political science really helped. Also, at the same time, though, my work also helps me to see the gist and the reasons of the laws that are applied as they are applied, not by challenging them, but by making sure that they're complied with. So basically, I have the best two, like the two best sides of, like the best sides of each world, because in one way, yes, the law as it is must be applied, and my work really puts my brain in a mode that really focuses on that. So it's not about challenging the law always, even though I do challenge the law sometimes, but rarely. It's very exceptional circumstances. Um, but at the other time, on the other hand, I'm sorry, there's like I has this like it's a 380 perspective, a 360, whatever. I'm very bad with numbers, but it's a all over perspective. So a bird's view perspective, yes, I have it. I can challenge it, and also have uh, a very narrow perspective on things in law as well. So I have both sides. Which I'm very, very happy about, because that's super useful. It makes things faster. It makes things more interesting. And I'm happy I didn't try to become an accountant, because as you saw, I would have clearly failed.
Really, sir. Oh yeah, so Richa, over to you.
Best of both worlds, good one. So, the third question that I have for you is that so as we know, every student joins law school with certain dreams. They have their own reasons. They have their own goals to achieve at the end of law school. So, while you were in law school, what was it for you? What did you think you were going to pursue right after your law school ended? What was your dream goal to achieve?
um, Survive. And that's I think it is the best gift I was ever given. Of course, at the beginning it was a nightmare. Uh, uh, Basically, I was coming out of a depression, very serious, and it's fine. It can be. I know you may ask, and it's totally fine. Everything I'm saying now, it's totally fine to make it public and broadcast it. I'm totally fine. I told about that before, but just to give you but I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on your question, but just as a background. So coming out of serious depression, I couldn't speak for several months, and for various reasons that justify this. It would only happen once. It's not going to happen again. I'm very careful about that. In any event, so I came into the law school program with this, and I didn't think I would succeed at all, and it was not the purpose. The purpose was to do something with my life and survive, and do something that will put very pragmatic, very practical when I got into law school. I wanted to do something that will a job at the end of my studies. Obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's gonna work. I will be able to put bread and butter on the table, feed myself, have a roof, very basic things, and survive because of the job. But then I was still interested. Of course, I didn't forget about my interest in international relations and international law, and that I discovered then. And thankfully, I will always be thankful to her and him, the two coaches of the international law moot court that I took part in. So I got involved in this, and I was in the team of my law school. And a year and a half or so after I started law school, we competed and in Tunisia in Africa, and we won the first international place in this French-speaking moot court. So it's a smaller version. I know they wouldn't like me to say this because it's not exactly the same. It's a bit different, so keep that in mind. But it's similar version of smaller version, but still quite important in the francophone world. It's similar to the Jessup moot court. There are less universities in around 20, 25 universities each year that participate, but it's still universities from around the world, the best students, etc. And we won the first international position. and basically winning the moot court. I was really happy, ecstatic, and then I realized that, well, okay, I thought I was going in the law program to survive, but actually I discovered a passion, and I discovered something that not only puts bread and butter on the table, but brings me joy. And that's something that's important. When you talk to people who are not in the law field and you're happy about something you've done, or you read, not necessarily that you don't necessarily need to accomplish something. Well, when you read something very interesting about the law that you agree or disagree with, and then you become intellectually excited or happy, and you share it with people surrounding you, I'm sure 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, they will look at you and said they will look shocked or surprised, because for so many people, the law is boring, right? Law is, well, okay. Oh, you cannot cross the street when there's a red light because the law says so. Oh, you cannot punch someone in the face who insults you because the law says so. You cannot steal, like, to go back to the example of the boy, you cannot steal a candy from the grocery store because the law says so. Okay, that's boring. No, it's not, because there and the law, for many reasons, I don't want to develop too much on this, but I will just say this is the law is based on society's values, and also there are many things, of course, we all know this, like people who are in the legal field, but the law is not just the law. It's so rich, so dense, so interesting. You can study one section of a code of or one paragraph of a court's decision and make it blossom like a flower in an article. Only this paragraph, and you can develop, expand, criticize, and that becomes basically, that little seed becomes a big tree. And that's one of the beauties of the law. So this is what I discovered. And also, this is what I would like the students to focus on, the listeners, the students who are currently the legal program, and say, oh yeah, I do that just for money, or oh, I do that because my parents was. No, please discover a passion, discover something that will bring you joy, because that exists in law, and a lot. There's plenty of options for you who are open to discoveries, and discover what really goes beyond the paycheck or the prestige, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The most humble people I've met in my life are the people at the Supreme Court of Canada, and they're so humble, and they talk to you. And I will not say his name because out of respect, but there's one judge when I left the Supreme Court at the law branch after the clerkship, and he basically went. He didn't have to, but for him it was important to talk to every single person in the building of the Supreme Court of Canada, from the lady working at the cafeteria to the registrar, to the lawyers at the law branch, to the students, he spoke to every single person. He took 10 minutes, 15 minutes with each, just to know them. Like, who the heck would do that? When I start a job, I'm not gonna see everybody. That takes humility and also courage, let's be honest, because you don't know anybody. It's like you have to, and of course we can say, yeah, but he's the man or woman in power, so he doesn't care. No. They are humble. They're not there for the prestige. I can tell you that. And that's something I've learned there. It's like the law field is not all about, it's not about that at all, actually, showing off and say, brag, or make money driving big cars. That's in the movies. Like the Firm with Tom Cruise, an old movie where they're big mergers and acquisitions and people make tons of money. Yes, that exists and it's fine. But oftentimes what you'll see and hear from the best in this field is that they don't really care about money. They care about what they're doing because they love it. They add the passion. And on the side, that brings them money. But at the beginning, it may have been the purpose, but it became a passion. So that's what that matters. And of course, I was too long, but that is very important, I think, to say.
No, but thank you so much. That was really necessary because my next question is it kind of takes inspiration from your answer. So my next question, which is related to the question I asked before, so about your goals when you're graduating from law school. So in these times, students who are graduating from law have these preconceived ideas in their minds. They think that by the time I pass my fifth year, I want to have a job in my hand beforehand. I want to buy a house when I'm 27, and I want to buy a car when I'm 29, and I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. But what do you think about this? What do you think happens when students have already made these ideas in their minds, and could this be disappointing when they step into the real law life, or do you think this could be creating unnecessary pressure in their minds? What is your take on this?
Yes. Uh, it is, and I was like that somehow, so I can understand this, because when I got into the law program, I did that for the bad reasons, and that I consider bad reasons, personally speaking, not judging anybody else's reasons. To, as I said, put bread and butter on the table. That was it. For somebody else, if someone goes in a law program for money, to buy a house at 27, a car at 29, have kids, have a dog whose name will be Puppy, and one cat whose name will be Meow, and all someone's life is planned in advance. They will retire at 65 years old if they're lucky. They will go to the dentist every June 6th. They will celebrate this or that birthday, like life, and that's about freedom. Life is full of, unfortunately, bad surprises, too often. Natural disasters, nobody's responsible, but it happens, and it may affect anybody, including myself and yourselves. But also, it's full of surprises, and you have to be, and I'm speaking directly to these students. If you plan everything in your life, and it's because of insecurity sometimes, and it's fine. Sometimes it's because you have good reasons, because that's what you chose deliberately to do, and it's okay, it's fine. That's the way you are deeply. It works for me, and I'm fine with that. But if too many people, as it is the case, do that because they're scared of failing, they change their focus, and their entire life is focused on material achievements. And it's fine to a certain extent. Again, I'm not judging those who do that. It's not the point. But if to reach that goal of getting the house at 27, purchasing a house at 27, a car at 29, the cat, the dog, the kids, well, I'm sorry, it doesn't have a meaning. The meaning of, like, the not the meaning of life, but I'm not going to answer this question this morning. I'm sorry, but the meaning of studying in law, of your life afterwards. It shouldn't be the focus on things. The focus should be, okay, am I happy doing 37 hours a week, 50 hours a week, or 80 hours a week like I do, or more like I do often? Like, if I wanted to have a car, and of course, I'm talking from my personal experience. If I wanted a car, a house, cat, dogs, etc., well, yeah, okay, but it's not a life subjective. But with the caveat, of course, I'm not criticizing women who want and guys who want to have children, But you shouldn't have the goal, in my personal opinion, you shouldn't want children because everybody wants you to have children, or because um, that's what life is about. It's because you want kids, you want to take care of them, you want to see them grow, you want to see them being happy, you want them seeing achieving like you did, you want to show them things, you want to share things with them, you want to make them better human beings, you want to change the human race for the best with your kids. Fine, it's amazing, go for it, I totally support it. But if you have this angle for all years spent on law, studying the law, you will not understand the law really. You will not go beyond. You will not think about it. You will not thrive. You will not succeed as much as if you would have had the right focus at the very beginning. And again, fine if you have money, fine if you have a car, house, kids, cats and dogs, alligators, crocodile, giraffes, or whichever animal you like. It's fine with me. Not the point. But if you have all these things I'm telling you, and you work 80 hours a week in a private firm or for the public sector, and you're unhappy because you don't care about what you do really, you're not interested. Well, the meaning of your life is lost. It can be retrieved. It can be, and that's what happened to me, because basically I focused too much, in my opinion, again, to practical things to survive. But I was so lucky because in my quest to survive, basically, and I insist on that, I discovered a passion which brought back the light in an area of darkness where I was. But this light should be what this, of course, said in the abstract as a Platonician ideal. But this light should be, this dream should be really what is the focus. But if it is a house and everything, yeah. But it brings too much stress, as you mentioned earlier. Like so much stress. Okay, what if the goddamn house, I'm sorry, but what if the house you buy it at 40 years old rather than 27? Is your life a complete failure? No, no. What if instead of buying a house, you travel around the world, you discover many cultures, or your own culture, which is fine. I like other cultures, other languages, and opens your mind, your way of thinking, approaching the law too, right? But if you don't do that, do whatever you want. But as long as you accomplish yourselves and you're happy with yourself, every morning you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, okay, what's great? Personally, I'm pretty grumpy when I wake up in the morning. So I'm not saying I'm waking up with a big smile and there are rainbows over my head. My wife can tell, I can tell you. And for her, she's very, very patient with me about that. But I'm talking generally speaking. You have to focus on, because that's a lot of time. That's a lot of hours. And I've seen so poor, sad students who shouldn't be studying law. They don't care, and it's fine. Do something else. Be whatever you want. We need different people. If we have 99% of the population as lawyers, we have a problem. Uh, because how are we gonna eat? How are we gonna be driven? There's gonna be serious problems. That's gonna be a very smart society, but we'll have plenty of social issues. So that's what I was focused on your dream, but challenge your own dream. Make sure it is really a dream and not somebody else's dream that you've seen in a movie, right? So that's what matters.
Thank you. Uh, Thank you for telling us. I'm sure our viewers are listening and they're inspired by this.
Thank you.
Over to you, Achintya. Next question.
Yeah. Sir, as law students, even in colleges, even when we intern somewhere, we are generally told that how the theoretical knowledge that we gain by doing a degree, it is, the substantive law, it's not alone and it's not sufficient to be able to practice law. So, having the experience of being a professor in the academics field, being a law clerk, as well as being a litigator, so what are your views and your personal experience of this notion, or of this that happens? Generally, it happens.
The notion of what? Can you clarify the notion just to make sure I understand the notion you're...
That the theoretical knowledge that we gain while studying law is not sufficient to be able to practice law.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Um, it's not. And I will tell you why very simply this time. Um, how can you approach a case if you cannot be critical towards yourself and your own ways of thinking? Let's say you have a section of the Sébastien Lafrance's Code of Life. Section 1 of this fictive law, no worries, don't look for it, doesn't exist. Section 1 of this unpublished, not famous law says the Canadian flag is red and white. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Pretty, yeah. Okay. What else? So if you don't, so the problem that you may encounter if you don't have this overview from other fields, or you're like, you can learn basics at the school, for sure. You will learn about the law, you will learn how to, but pay attention to what your professors tell you about how to think with something like section 1 of Sébastien Lafrance's code, that doesn't exist. What kind of red, like that section, it says the Canadian flag is red and white. Okay, well, what kind of red? What kind of white? What does it mean? What does a flag mean? Okay, could it be a criminal offense to burn the flag or not be respectful towards the flag? In India, it is a criminal offense. What does it do? What does it represent? Okay, is it like, is it as, did we already, was it always the same flag? No. Did it evolve? Yes. Same for India. Why is the flag these colors? Why do we have the symbol in the middle of the Indian flag? Why is it a criminal offense to not be respectful towards the flag? So if you don't have, like, if you're just have this practical experience, or you want to actually get this practical experience of being able to approach the law, but you will get it underground in the real world. So that's why clerkships matter. Any types. I'm not saying only the ones I've done at the Supreme Court and that kind of stuff, but any types of clerkship. It doesn't matter. It will confront you to the reality. It will bring challenges every day in your life. And I am telling you, the more challenges, the better, because you will evolve way faster in your mind, intellectually speaking. You will enrich your mind with knowledge, invaluable knowledge that you cannot pick up from books. So this is quite important. Law school is great. It's great. That's the foundation. But to build a building over this foundation, of course, if the foundation, you didn't pay attention at school, oh, my dad's going to give me a job after he's got a law firm, he's a big shot. So you work so much, friends. I don't care. My dad is going to, oh yeah, go for it, my friend. Don't pay attention in your class. Just get the average mark. Go for it. Be lazy, because I know you. I'm telling you, after you're done, you will fail underground. You will fail in the practice because you didn't. Your foundations are weak. So that matters, of course. But afterward, the building, the practice, and it has to be built. But that comes, and of course, the more you go over the years, the more you go over the many experiences you can get, the more the bigger the building gets. The idea is not to have a Eiffel Tower or the Taj Mahal as a beautiful building, but that's the holy grail. That's the final objective, to have a Taj Mahal in your mind of knowledge. But the foundations, take away the foundations of the Taj Mahal and it falls apart and it falls down. It's just a bunch of ruins. So that's important to keep that in mind. And these are different things. Yeah, I will limit my comments. I will, I'll be shorter this time.
No, you don't have to be short, because I think this is really important. What you just said, that the foundation is more important, which is so true. This is so true. So as you said that clerkships are good. Clerkships help you a lot in understanding law. You have been a clerk. You've been a clerk. You've done clerkship in Supreme Court as well as in the Court of Appeal at Quebec. So, what was your experience being a law clerk there, and how did this clerkship program affect your understanding of law, or how did it help you enhance the knowledge of law?
uh, it did. When I first started, I thought that judges were sometimes they will be criticized, and of course I'm careful about what I'm saying, and I'm sincerely very respectful to the judge of the Supreme Court. I really am, because I've been there for 3 years, 1 year of clerkship, and followed by 2 years at the law branch. Um, for the lucky ones of you who visited the Taj Mahal, and I don't want to do the tourist comparison here, um, but I still visited it and I had the same impressions. I have to make this analogy because it is an accurate analogy, in my opinion. When you are in the Taj Mahal, you have the same feeling of intellectual peace and um, grandiosity, because it's an impressive. Well, the Taj Mahal is way more impressive. Of course, it's one of the seven. Look, I'm not saying the Supreme Court is exactly the same as the Taj Mahal. Of course, the Taj Mahal it's a beauty known all over the world. The Supreme Court of Canada is not. But when you're inside the building of a Supreme Court, just physically, you have this. So how did it impact? So this grandiosity matters in my answer. So I was expecting, being a nerd. I have no problem to admit it. Of course, it's pretty obvious. I'm a nerd. I expected judges to have only, they do have this approach and perspective, but I expected judges to have only a theoretical approach on things and on legal issues. But they don't. They care about practice as well, and the consequence. Of course they do. And somebody asks, Sebastien, what are you talking about? Of course they do. No, but they do more than most people would think. They really think about it, like the to the slightest detail. Of course, I cannot say too much. I'm bound by uh, by uh, by a private confidentiality agreement, but I cannot say things, specific things that happen inside the walls of the Supreme Court. But it did impact greatly on my approach to the law. And surprisingly, because you would expect the opposite, but my approach to the law became way more practical because of the Supreme Court of Canada. That's surprising, because somebody would say that, and it can have the total opposite effect on someone who's really practical and pragmatic, uh, the, focus more on the facts than the legal issues may switch. But the greatest impact on me was before. I was not really interested by facts, and I didn't care much, I have to say, about the facts of a case. I was really focused about the legal issues, and I was trying all the time to diminish the facts and as much as possible, because I didn't really care. And it changed that for sure. And yeah, so that was quite beneficial from that perspective. But it's a different experience for everybody. And any types of clerkship, and again, it's not to it doesn't matter. Clerkship, yeah, of course it does matter, because yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it shows, it looks good on the resume, of course it does. But if it's only that, there are idiots everywhere. So there are idiots everywhere. So I'm not gonna, no matter the ranks, no matter the status, that the title or a building or a job will not make you smart, or compassionate or open-minded or a happy person. No. Well, so that's just to keep that. So a little clerkship in a small firm, it's not, and I hate. I'm not gonna say I despise. I will go as far as say I hate people who say, "Oh yeah, oh you got this little clerkship in a small firm. Haha, you're nothing." No, no. Maybe that person will eventually argue the biggest case of the country, because the facts that will come to that firm from that person will end up at the Supreme Court of India. You never know. You never know, like ever. And you can be at the Supreme Court and all these flashy people and end up we're doing non-substantial work. The opposite is true, of course. I'm not diminishing the importance of the Supreme Court, and I love this, my experience at the Supreme Court deeply, and I miss it. And that's the I would say very respectfully, in my opinion, it's like a temple of justice. You really feel it. So that was the analogy with the Taj Mahal I was making. And of course, the building of the Supreme Court of India is as beautiful as well. I've seen it, so it's gorgeous. But it's really sober, though. Anyway, it's not our presentation on architecture, but I found it very sober, and it basically has the same effect as the Supreme Court of Canada on you, to a humble effect. It makes you, okay, yeah, let's take a minute, hold on, like we're here at the Supreme Court, India or Canada. So Supreme Court of India is, of course, one of the most important Supreme Courts in the world too, right? So let's not forget that. So to go back to the question, yes, it did impact on me, but not from what I expected. I expected to be intellectually fed more on ideas, approach to pure legal notions, concepts, and everything. And no, of course, I benefited from that as well. But the biggest impact on me was the practical approach. Surprisingly, it surprised me actually afterwards when I realized it. But that's what the still impacts all over, because it's so important in someone's life. But it did have this surprising impact on me for sure.
It's really, like, I agree with you, sir. Like what I have even come across while studying law. So like, really
Good.
okay. So sir, you have been a part-time professor at University of Ottawa while you were a legal counsel at the Supreme Court of Canada. Am I right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So how did you manage to keep up with both of these professions simultaneously? Like how did you juggle between these two things?
That's what the survival experience that I lived when I first entered into the legal sector, the legal studies. That's how it helped. You cannot do these two things successfully if you don't work more than hard. And I have a practical example. So I was managing time, and I still do that, right? So it's something I've started then, and I never stopped since since 11 years now. You don't stop working. Your life becomes work. And somebody would say, well, "Oh my God, so sad. You have no life." Yes, I chose my life, and I'm not imposing it on anybody. Some people, I know two people that I know that I took somehow worked with, not in my workplace, but in my extracurricular activities, who tried to do the same thing, and they fell sick, seriously sick, because that was too demanding. So I have this, I don't know where it comes from, but I have this energy of a 4-year-old kid. The only difference is I'm not stealing candies, and I'm not getting I have this energy, but that's how you manage. I remember one time coming back from the university after having taught. There was an international law course. I was over passionate. It was a very interesting topic that day that I was teaching. And after a day of court working at the law branch of the Supreme Court, so it was a big day at the court that day. I had to go back to court after I taught at night, which I did, and halfway my back blocked. I couldn't walk anymore because I had to carry the exams of the students, and that was very heavy. And I was so tired, my back just blocked, and I couldn't walk. So I just called the cab, and the cab driver drove me to the Supreme Court, back to the Supreme Court. So and I took one day off and then went back on track. So I am asking a lot from myself. The message that comes from this is either like put aside for a moment the message. The message is not I'm crazy. I may be crazy, fair enough, but I'm crazily happy and I'm crazily sane and crazily mentally sane. So that's not a problem. The message here is, and don't do it necessarily, but you may and you should work more than you think you would sometimes to push barriers to and I'm doing it right now. Like these days I'm pushing my barriers for something I'm working on. It's very demanding, and I'm demanding, and I'm careful about myself, because there will be some voices in your mind, and I don't hear voices, but there will be voices, or somebody will say, oh, take a break, or my wife told me, and because she cares, she sees me working like a slave, but so this evening, take it off. And not because she wants me to be lazy, but because she sees me being exhausted. And I know I push, but be careful with your health, please. I'm not saying you have to kill yourself. What I'm doing is a personal decision, and I know I can do it too, and I know I can deliver. So it's not something. But in the legal field, of course, you will have to work harder, big time. So that's managing time is always a challenge in the legal field. So you have to know your limitations. You have to know what you can do, but you also have I don't want to go too much on the soft side and say, oh yeah, but be careful with yourself. Yeah, okay, I said it, I mean it, but at the same time, push yourself. Don't be lazy, please. Don't say, oh yeah, okay, this case is not really worth it and it's not gonna pay much, so but if you have this attitude towards your cases, or this book, oh that book is boring, but I'll put it aside. Or I'll half study it. I don't really care. Well, first of all, you may not succeed in your class at the end, and after that, you may not know. Maybe the book itself is boring, but maybe there's one sentence that will going back to the seed that blossom and that becomes a tree. It'll blossom, but it grows and becomes a tree. You'd never know. Always be alert on. You may discover something that will change your life. Changing your life, it's not like in the movies. It's not you get out of the door and there will be a Prince Charming or a Princess Charming that waits you, professionally speaking. That doesn't happen. It may happen for some. I don't know them. I don't care. It's not the point. You make your own choice. It may be I'm a bit biased about this, but you make your own success and own failures, and you should be responsible to yourself about that. And again, I'm not. If you make a mistake, and I make mistakes still, just be careful about these things. Don't blame yourself too much, because but at the same time, take it as a learning experience. But if you don't do anything, how can you learn? And that goes back to the practical answer of approaching things. If you're always on the theoretical side, yeah, it's beautiful ideas, but there must be, like the ancient Greeks were saying, that's the entire idea of praxis, praxis. So this la praxis, there must be The ideas must come into fruition, into life, and somehow otherwise it's only a platonic ideal. So it's like just a something that remains in the clouds, so to speak.
Yeah. So like,
So I'll move on to the next question. Okay. So the next question is basically related to one of your publications. And as you've mentioned, you publish a lot. So this is one from them. It's about the publication wherein you were talking about women in context of criminal offenses in Canada. So, what do you think is the reason behind the lack of understanding of the gravity of sexual offenses against women? You know, when there's a small incident that takes place, you've mentioned about it in your article, wherein you say that, the judge itself of some court made a remark which was really, it was really upsetting that he could make such a remark, wherein he said that, it's all in the mindset, and it's not that big of a deal, it's a small accident, it's a minor incident. And what do you think is the reason behind such an understanding of a sexual offense, which is actually a really big thing for a woman? Why do you think that happens, and what is the reason behind it according to you?
The main reason, in my opinion, when you and I'll be very offensive on purpose, and then using this this offensive thing to really illustrate why, in my opinion, there are cultural reasons, there are various reasons, but is a table a person? Is a window a person? A car a person? No. So you can basically dispose these things, the word is important, in the trash can, garbage, if you want. So women, and I discuss it in my article very briefly, but women are objectified somehow by too many people. They are, of course, they are legally, even by those people, they don't understand, they don't realize that they do that, but they objectify women. Women becomes a trophy, a maid, or a helper, or like whatever, to basically answer sexual needs of men, or be a maid at home, cooking, cleaning, be basically a cleaning robot. But don't talk to me. Don't say anything. Like, I don't want to hear from you. I don't care. Do what you have to do. I'm happy. The house is clean. The food is cooked. And we'll talk when we'll have sex together. But otherwise, just shut up. Well, I'm sorry. This is horrible. And it starts from long time ago. It has nothing to do with, and unfortunately, it is to some degree in all modern societies. That historically speaking, women status evolved throughout times. This is why feminism has a reason. And that I consider myself as a feminist, and that some people, I already said that a year ago, but I will repeat it today. It matters. Men can be feminist, and I know a few Indian men who say they are feminist. Feminists don't necessarily need to be women, and that's a misperception about this. It's an idea. It's a position about women's or the status women should and must have in the society. So, and as I wrote in another piece, well, you got to stand up for women, and women's are equal. Period. Like, and all these reasons. Oh, they bear child. They're the vulnerable. That's historically this too, right? That's another explanation. Women are vulnerable, they're weak, the weaker sex. Like it's all these ideas, and they may be true sometimes for some people, but there are weak men too. I'm telling you, believe me. There are vulnerable men too. Yeah. And you can have big muscles if you want. And I say that with the utmost sincerity. In average, women to me are somehow not only equal, and that's super personal. Okay, so not only nothing is binding on my job, but also nothing is binding on anybody else than me for what I will say here. But to me, because of all these the qualities women have, I would even dare saying that legally speaking, women are equal. Fair enough. I would even dare saying women are superior to men in many respects. And what men do when they're scared, men, not women, but men, they attack, they bring down, they become violent, they become sexually or psychologically abusive to bring down the treasure that are women, to control the treasure, to keep the treasure for themselves. So it's and there are cultural differences. I will not enter into this. It is very interesting. I could, but just because it's not the focus here. But the question is really focused, and I like the question too. Why, right? So why women have this? And that's a very good question too, because when you go back to your question, which I really like, when you replace women by crocodiles or microwaves or books, okay, well, the answer is it's because crocodiles. Well, it's not. It's a minor incident because there are not so many crocodiles in the world. That's why they don't care. So there are not so many books, and books are objects, so that's why it's a minor incident. So we don't care if we rip apart a book or rip off a book, rip apart. I'm sorry. But now we're talking about women, more than half of the human race. We're talking. That's why it's important. Like, hello, even though it would be 30% of the human race, it would be important. Even though it would be 10% of the human race, it would be important. But now we're talking about more than a half of the human population, and you're telling me that this is a minor. It's just half of. Okay, what about take yourself as a figure, and you're the example. What about half of your body is beaten up? The totality of your half of your body. And I'm making an analogy with a Greek myth that women and men are originally they were together, and that's why they have love, they make love and have kids. It's because originally of course it's not true, but I mean in the myths, the Greek myths, they were one person. So that's what this example is coming from, that I modernized here. But what about your half of 50% of your own self is beaten up violently or sexually abused? Is the other half won't the other half care? Of course, it's of course. It's outraging. And this is and thankfully, though, on a positive note, that's why it is so important that women and it's so great that women reach important positions, for example, in the legal field. They do in Canada, they also do in India. The Supreme Court have one female judge that I've seen, actually, well, not in person, but I've read a few of her decisions, and there's more. That's important, not only because it's important to, but anybody should be given the chance to succeed. And it's not because and all these vulnerable things, and that's right, some people may be weaker. Okay, some women may be weaker. It's but it has nothing to do with that. It's complementarity as well. Like you may be physically weaker but smarter, and it's not true that some people have no important qualities and no important contribution to make eventually to the society only because of their gender. This is outdated. This is old-fashioned. This should disappear and vanish from the surface of this planet as soon as possible.
So you answered the question by telling us that the uh, want for power over women is what drives men to think this way, or they become wild, they become untamable, and that's why there's lack of understanding in the concept of consent as well. They do not take the term consent very seriously. They think it's okay. I mean, it's okay, it's all welcome for women, or it's all okay. So, what do you think would help men understand the term consent better? Or I think in general, other people as well, elders or even other women. I think sometimes even women don't understand women. Sometimes there's,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
no,
know, but yeah, yeah.
I hear you, and I will. And going back to my official nerd, self-proclaimed nerd status, the simplest and easiest notion that was decided by the Supreme Court of Canada in the decision Ewanchuk, Ewanchuk, a very important decision, is this. They legalized, basically, of course, that existed before, but they legalized the notion of no means no. And it doesn't necessarily need to be verbalized. So if I'm and that's also applicable in marriages. So it's not because you're married to someone that's it's a license to sexual abuse your wife and do and basically treat her as a doll, or as an object, or an object of pleasure or object of care, or just as no, there's no such license. So simple but efficient and widely applied in Canada, that decision no means no, period. Of course there's some, you can whatever, but in the sexual context, we're not talking about oh, do you want to have a cookie? Oh no, I don't want to have a cookie, it's fine. Oh, you really want to have a cookie, take it. That's different. But we're talking about the sexual and physical integrity of someone. We're not talking about a delicious cookie that the person actually wants it, but she says no. It's different. It's the privacy of the person, sexual integrity, the dignity of the person that matters. Totally different than a chocolate chip cookie or whichever favorite flavor of cookie you may have. So that's why there must be a clear line drawn, and the Supreme Court did it very well in that decision. There are more decisions afterwards, but this one is famous, easy to understand, and that was written. And I would say the Supreme Court intended to write it, this decision, very plainly for people to understand, to make a clear statement. So no means no, nothing else, period. No doesn't mean maybe. No doesn't mean, oh, actually, I really wanted it, but I didn't. My parents told me I should. No, it means no. That's it. End of the story.
Thank you for being so candid with us and answer this really effectively. I hope this reaches everyone and it makes everyone understand that being a feminist is not something that's only for women. Men can be feminists. You can support uh, your mother, your daughters, your friends, and be there for them, and not call it a minor incident, of course, and understand the term concept. Sorry, consent. Sorry. Uh, I think the next question is going to be answered, asked by Achinta. So, yeah.
So, sir, from participating in moot court competitions, like you mentioned earlier, to also judging several of them, what is your experience on the other side of the table in judging the moot court competitions?
Uh, I love it. I love doing that because I'm always on the edge of my seat. Like, you know, when you watch, let me make you know, when you watch a good movie and you're really into it and you like the story, and if you eat popcorn or not, whatever you munch on, like, and you're like this and you're so into it, and like somebody talks to you, shh, I'm like, and you're focused. So that's how I am in the moot courts when I'm judging. I was like that when I did it, and I was actually, the learning curve was really high for me when I did it, because anyway, I told you the story. I'm not gonna going back to this, but to talk about judging, and you see everything. I've seen the best, I've seen bad, I've seen worse, the worst. Um, but even the worst, and there's something very humiliating I've seen. One, I'm not gonna say the name of the person, of course, out of respect, sincere respect. But the person didn't make a good case before the moot court. It was pretty bad, actually. And I did my best to give the person good comments, but she knew. Um, and the person started criticizing herself very hardly in front of the judges, and make it easier for us. So that the easy way would have been, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, but no, but you're not, that's not the only purpose. So basically, I was so impressed by this that I gave her a pep talk and say, well, no, it's okay, but actually you learn the approach on the law. That's so great. Like, be hard on yourself, be really demanding. That's a great tool. Maybe here was not the best place, because you don't want to go to a big moot court and fail so miserably, but there's always something to be learned, even when you fail, lose, as long as you put the efforts in, as long as you worked hard. If you're a goddamn lazy person, don't come annoy me and say, I don't want to hear complaints and stuff. Shut. No, please don't. No, I don't want to hear that. So that's that even in the negative side, even in the worst, there's something positive and great, and to see that and to feel that as a judge. On the other hand, it's easier, of course, to say and to express, but I didn't want to focus only on the positive side, because there's something to learn from the negative side as well. On the positive side, you see magnificent students arguing difficult issues with dedication, their eyes being exhausted show they worked too much, so hard, killing themselves a little bit, wanting to succeed and do their best in front of you. I'm always very respectful towards that, even though they don't necessarily do their best. And I've seen pearls as well, men and women, leaving me in awe and complete state of ecstasy, I would say, in front of their amazing, blowing performance. In several countries. In Washington, D.C., in the Jessup Moot Court, for example, for the international rounds, but also at the national level in several countries, because I judge in national rounds in other countries as well. So it's not only about, I'm not only talking about Canadians. That's what matters. That's why I say that. It's not to brag or say, oh, I judge in several countries. No, it's not the point. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, it's not all about Canadians here. Of course, I care about my fellow Canadians, but I've seen that around the world, and it blows your mind. And I'm tough as a judge. I ask questions. I want answers. I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna calm down or say, well, okay, no. I'm giving you almost real experience of what the court is. And in those occasions, it is so fulfilling. And when you see these pearls, I've stayed in touch actually with many of them, because I told them how. And afterwards, not during the moot court, of course, you can't. You cannot be biased, and you cannot push somebody. It's totally it goes against the rules. So I would never do that, and I would never do that anyway, rules or not. That doesn't make any sense from a judicial or like judicial. I'm not a real judge. I wish, but it's not it's a like judicial context. But from that side of, and when you do moot courts, for those of you who do moot courts, don't think the judge, most of the time the judges are there for a reason, and they really care. They really do. It's when they tell you they care, it's not a lie. It's not even a white lie. They're not polite. They really care. And I have stories there. I have stories I wish I could tell, but yeah, they really take it seriously. For most of them, I cannot say all, because I don't know all judges in moot courts, right? Doesn't make sense. But for those I met, wow, they all take it all as seriously as I do. So it's they may have better knowledge than me about the field, or less knowledge than me about the field, but it's really it's great to see students. It's all about beauty, right? So I'm going back to Plato's idea of beauty with a capital B. And I'm not talking about female beauty or male beauty. I'm talking about beauty as an ideal. But there's so much beauty in this, beauty as an accomplishment, or to go back to not go back, but to mention the Sisyphus, how's it called? But basically the guy who pushes the rock up the hill, and he keeps pushing. There's this myth of that was used in the philosophical field. So like to basically go beyond your own barriers, and you see that. But I'm tough, and I don't smile a lot, but I have to tell one story. Actually, it happened twice, but I've seen shortly told, but I've seen it twice. I was asking questions, and then when I realized they nailed my questions, I just kept going and didn't stop. I bombarded them with questions, but one of them did it, and actually no, two of them, two different teams in different contexts, and one was at the international round and the other one national, but they kept answering with a big smile. I know they were nervous. They were not smiling because they were partying with a drink, but they did it so amazingly. And one even corrected my question with a smile. I made a slight mistake. It said, "Oh, Your Excellency should have said this because of blah, blah, blah," but with a smile and very respectful. No, oh, Your Excellency or Your Honor, you're a stupid idiot. No. But it was done. Wow. So it's great. So I could tell stories about that. I won't, but it is also a great experience for judges. So and that's why there's some moot courts, and there's some around, not only the Jessup but other moot courts, they refuse people to be judges, not because they're not qualified, but because people know, even practitioners or professors who want to be judges, like in those moot courts, they know how fulfilling it is. I'm consider myself quite lucky to judge moot courts, honestly, nationally in different countries and at the international level as well. So it's so much pleasure, not pleasure as a for me, pleasure, it's not being on the beach. Honestly, doing this, it's the equivalent for many people to be on the beach. I'm thinking of my wife. I'm not sure I can say that, but maybe she'll, no, we'll see. But I think I can say that. No, it's not the same notion of happiness. For me, what for my wife would be happiness, being the beach, relax, enjoying the sun, and she's not lazy. It's not the point, but that's our notion of happiness somehow. And having good music in the background, being with friends, being with her family. For me, it's judging mood courts. That's the same thing. Like it's my vacation time where even though I work, of course, I make sure I know the facts, the law, and everything, like on point, on the very specific points, and I challenge the students, and I really have a comprehensive grasp of the knowledge. So it's not lazy time, but to me, to my soul, to my mind, it's vacation time because I really do enjoy it. So I take the occasion to raise my hats to all students to do mood courts. That's great. It's a great experience in your lifetime. Do not take it lightly and enjoy it to its fullest, for sure.
I think with this analogy, it's safe to say that you're a big nerd. You enjoy mood courts more than you'll enjoy a beach. That's typical nerd behavior, but that's really nice.
Absolutely. I cannot agree more with you.
But that's good, that's good. That's really beautiful that this makes you more happy. So that's really nice.
Thank
It's
you.
good to hear that there are judges who are actually there sitting there, they wanting to listen to us, and because after a point you think that maybe the judge is not interested, maybe
Yeah.
I'm just, but it's good to know that they're interested, they
Oh, yeah.
care,
Oh,
they
yeah.
want to, they'll work. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a last question, and you've explained a lot to us already, and you've given a lot of inspiration to our viewers already. But again, what piece of advice would you like to give to aspiring law students and new generation lawyers and everybody who's watching this?
Don't let small issues and problem get in the way of your bigger dreams. I've experienced plenty of difficulties in my life, personal and professional, not so much, but personal, I've experienced more than most. And it's not to singularize myself and say, oh, poor Seb, oh, poor guy. No, it's not the point. You will experience, everybody, tough times. But don't forget, cherish your dreams, believe in them, but challenge them at the same time, as we said earlier. That would be my biggest advice. That should be one of the main guidelines. One, not the only, of course, because you may like something, and I will share a quick story about this. You may like something, but you may be horrible at it. I tried to play violin for 10 years. I loved, as a child, classical music, another feature of nerds, I guess. I tried to play violin for 10 years. I really tried hard. Was I good? Absolutely not. I was horrible. Horrible. Some other people did it better than me with less efforts. I still kept doing it. I still kept trying it, but and I was still horrible. At some point, I dropped it. But if you're not good, even if you're not good at something as a student in a legal area, don't discourage yourself, because you may be practicing in this field and be one of the main world experts in this field eventually. You don't know. There may be circumstances that explain it. There maybe it's the book, maybe it's the topic. At the time you were not interested, but there will be you never know, basically, also where the stepping stones are professionally, but also in your soul and mind. Don't miss them. Don't miss them.
beautiful again. So, I think you did justice to the first with the best, because this is the first interview with someone, and this is going to be the first interview video on your YouTube channel. And this was, I think, I enjoyed this thoroughly. I genuinely admire you as a person and as a lawyer that you are. Piece
Oh,
of advice, your advice is so candid and it's so touching and it's so true actually, because as law students who are just going to graduate, I really understand what you're saying, and I really admire where you are and what you're saying. It's really beautiful. Thank you so much.
my
So first
sincere
of all,
pleasure.
thank you so much for coming here, taking your precious time out for us, and giving us so much to take from this interview. And secondly, thank you so much to everybody who will take the time out to watch this interview with sir. And I hope you take a
Absolutely.
lot from him. Be a nerd, because that's really good. That will take you here. And secondly, please understand what he's saying, because I'm sure this is this is it. This will help you a lot. And yes, thank you so much.
Well,
And of
my most
course,
sincere pleasure. It
I
was
hope
great,
we did not
great.
bore you. I hope our questions were not boring.
No, no, no,
But
no. Oh, that's something I want to say. And actually, you can keep recording. I know time flies. I see that there's,
yeah,
but I love the questions you prepared. Like I really did. I really and I really do. I think these were great questions. When I read them, I was impressed. So great job, great work. And I don't say that to flatter you, because actually I'm telling you, you can keep that in the broadcast. And what I'm saying right now, you really focus the questions. You took the time to the care and the time to ask different questions on different things, so people are not only seeing one side. So if you do that with the next interviewees as well, which you will, I'm sure, these will also be great interviews. And I have to say, it was a sincere pleasure. When I take more time than I should, it's because I have a great time, believe me. And that was awesome. I really loved it this morning, well, this evening with you, this evening in India, this morning in Toronto, Canada. But I thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart for this. It was I had a great time.
thank you so much. I hope your
Thank you
forthcoming
so much, sir.
experience at RML and LU, if I'm not wrong, is great as well. Because I saw that you're going to be judging RML and LU moot court as well. So I
Correct.
hope that's good too. And of course, I'll end the entire series by saying the very cliche line that any YouTube video would have. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
uh,